relationship between that universe and the pineal gland?
Well, the pineal gland is really like the core regulator of how much of this biological light you are able to resonate with at any particular time. And it actually is on a cyclic interchange. So we know, for example, that in our solar system there appears to be daytime and nighttime.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And we know that there are certain things that happen in daytime versus at nighttime because the frequency of light changes. The temperature also changes. And so with the pineal being a regulator of the of the activity of melanin, this is what it does. It's a modulator, and it's a regulator for the activity of melanin. So it's very interesting that the pineal gland does two things, primarily as far as its chemical activity. In the daytime, it creates something known as serotonin. At nighttime, it creates a chemical known as melatonin. The serotonin is needed to allow the cells to begin to become very active in discharging waste and absorbing nutrients.
Mm-hmm.
At nighttime, the melatonin comes out in darkness. The brain has to be sealed off from light, so the eyes have to be closed, where melanin-stimulating hormone then stimulates the process of melatonin. From the pineal gland, the melatonin is then released into the bloodstream to cause the cells to now begin to use the nutrients that is absorbed during the day and to rebuild. So literally you're supposed to die in the daytime and be regenerated at night. Right.
So,
Okay.
so if someone is lacking, although all human beings have melanin, but if someone is lacking in melanin and skin color, what's the effect of that?
When someone is lacking melanin, they have a little challenge on the planet with intense light, with the capacity to deal with heat, and also the capacity to interact in general with higher frequencies of light. That is to say that because light is information. TV, for example, the TV wave is a band or an aspect of the whole frequency of light known as the electromagnetic spectromagnetic spectrum. Now, if you do not have the capacity to interact with light at that vibratory rate, okay, you will not be able to pick up an image in your mind as it travels through space, okay? Therefore, nobody could tell you that you could send a picture to them through space because they couldn't perceive that that could be the case. So therefore, races of people who did not have melanin of any significance to create a condenser, a machine that could actually capture and condense these waves to such an extent where they could actually know that these high frequencies of light existed.
So
Therefore, a TV set is a granule of melanin. It's an exteriorization of melanin because these individuals not having melanin in their body could not perceive that a picture was a frequency of light wave. Do you understand that? It's
Yes.
a wave of light. So therefore, this condenser, this TV, captures that, concentrates it, and reflects it back to the individual so that they could know that, gee, it was really true. They are sending me this picture. So in cultures where they have always been melanin dominant, they have these pictures as relics, as codices, as hieroglyphics or imternetter, if you call them, that are left on the wall that signify that people were having pictures in their head and that they were being sent from one person to another. That's why they always have these insignias of eyes in the head, people on the head and in the head, because people could actually project a picture in the form of a thought and label that thought to be sent to a particular person, and the person would actually see it in their mind.
So for those of us that are intellectually challenged like myself, let me see if I can reiterate what you just stated. Let's say Nina and I are melanin dominated, and I can transfer.
We black folks. Go ahead.
I can transfer an image or a thought to Nina without having the aid of a television or some other type of vehicle to
Cell
capture
phone,
the
pager.
vibration. So Now, this technology that we have today
Yes.
that captures communication like a television, it relays that information to those that are not necessarily melanin dominated.
Exactly. And for those individuals who are melanin dominant and become accustomed to and begin to rely solely
Dependent.
on those external modalities of communication, or should I say transmission of light frequencies, will notice that their innate capacities will atrophy.
What you don't use, you lose.
Exactly. So if you don't use your capacity to visualize, if you don't use your capacity to hear, if you don't use your capacity to really see, then you will lose it.
So then, those without melanin, when watching television or using these various media forms, are aided through the media, but those that are black, when they watch their television or use their cell phone, their original natural talents are atrophied.
Well, right, they're lying dormant, and over time they will atrophy. So that's why melanin-dominant individuals who have incorporated themselves to begin to use these external means of interacting with frequencies of light must not forget the old ways. They have to practice them still, because otherwise they will lose them. Their brain will actually shut down and will lose those sites in the brain that could receive and then project to the conscious mind what was said, what was actually seen. They will lose them.
Doctor, you keep referencing frequencies. And
yeah, because everything is light, and what we're talking about is atoms, known as photons. Okay? And so what the vibratory rate of these photons pulsating is determining the colors that we see, or determining the attribute that particular frequency of photon vibration creates.
So when you call the pineal gland a modulator, the modulator is actually a receptor of all of the frequencies that are around. Now, sound is actually not necessarily, but is actually a slower vibration or frequency than light. And
what is
sound? Sound is a slower.
No, sound is an aspect of light.
It's an aspect of light.
That's correct. And if you look in my book, I have on page 39 a general band of the entire electromagnetic frequency. And radio waves or sound waves vibrate at, do I have it here? Yeah, it moves at 100 feet a second here. Oh, excuse me, 100 miles a second here. That's what that is. So we have, miles, feet. Then we go to nanometers. So
repeat
I
that
have
again?
and it's between the band of electrical power and TV.
Okay. We're looking at for those that don't have a copy of Vitamins and Minerals from A to Z by Dr. Jewel Pookrum, we're looking at a chart that lists the electric power moves at 3,100 miles, and what's the duration of time?
A second.
A second. So electric power moves 3,100 miles a second, and we have radio that moves 100 feet a second.
Yes.
And television, which is between a foot a second and
half a foot, maybe.
Well, no, it's 0.01.
0.01 foot.
Into the very short frequencies, such as microwave, infrared, and then we finally go into the visual spectrum, which now has moved into nanometers. Okay, it's so small. Okay.
And so we're talking about infrared and UV and X-rays and gamma rays and cosmic rays moving at nanoseconds.
Nanometers.
Nanometers per second. Okay. And so when we look at this particular graph, we're dealing with individuals with certain amounts of melanin. And those with the least amount of melanin can only grasp a certain nanometer, a certain something a second.
Right. And that is known as the visual spectrum, which you can see is a very, very small